So coming on to email marketing, and really this is sort of the last thing I wanted to focus on in terms of online marketing in 2022. Email is huge and much maligned because we've experienced so much spam over the years. And I know whenever I go into my email, there's a load more rubbish messages which have no relevance to me whatsoever. So I suppose the first thing is why email? Everybody has an email address. Everybody on this webinar, we've reached by an email, and we've sent you out a link to join this webinar using an email. So everybody has an email. It's a way you can communicate with lots of people quickly. So you can, you're not having to phone them, which takes time, and then they're not there, they're not answering the phone. With email, you can reach lots of people very quickly. It's also an active marketing channel. Things like the website, social media, even advertising and search ranking, they're what I would call passive. So they're waiting for someone to come along and find you and then contact you. With email, you can go out there and you can contact people. So let's say you have, there's a list of companies you'd really like to be working for. You can actually just email them and say, this is who we are, this is what we do, and if you can put together some good wording, get an opportunity to start talking to them. So it's a way of actually reaching the people you want to, rather than waiting for people to approach you. It's also low cost. Everything else really does cost money. And whether it be money because you're paying someone to do it, or money because it's your time actually doing it yourself. If you're doing your own search ranking, your own advertising, there's cost involved because it is your time doing it. Email is very low cost because you can send an email to 50 people or 100 people in a matter of seconds once you've actually written the text. And if you do it from your own email, it's not going to cost you anything at all. The types of email you can send, we sort of break it down into a number of categories. There's cold ones. So I mentioned, there's 100 companies you want to work with. You can email those. You can find out who the right contact was there and send them an email. What we call database reactivation, which basically means most companies that have been around for a while will have built up a database of customers, contacts, etc. on there. Some people that came to them they never did any work for, others that they've worked for in the past and haven't spoken to in a year. But most companies we work with have a big old database that they've built up over time, and it's just been forgotten, and those people have not heard from them in a year, 2 years or more. So you can very easily reactivate them, get a bit of correspondence going with them again. You can also send out appointment confirmations. You can automate the process. So someone books an appointment for you to go out and give a quote. You can use email to sort of automate the confirmation they'll be there, and then a reminder, day before, morning before, or whatever, so that they are definitely there and you don't turn up and they're not around. When you send out quotes, following up on quotes. Now, different people we speak to, some have a very good process for doing this, and it's always done by telephone, which is definitely the best way of doing it. Others are so busy that they just do a quote and then they're on to the next job or the next quote. And using email as I suppose an automated way of following those up is very effective, because it just reminds people that that you're here. So for example, you've sent out a quote today, tomorrow an email could go out saying, hope you got the quote, any questions, let me know. If you're interested, here are some recent testimonials we've got. And then the week later, another email could go out saying, don't even get a chance to look through our quote yet, but if you do have questions, let me know. Here's an example of a couple of jobs we've worked on recently. And you could have a little case study and maybe a testimonial or whatever it may be. But sort of using email as a way of following up quotes without you yourself having to phone them and email them, individual emails, which takes a lot of time. You can ask companies for reviews, people for reviews after you do work. We use a campaign often for our customers, call it a nurture campaign, where they've spoken to somebody, maybe they've not used them or the time wasn't right or whatever, but just to kind of keep in touch on an occasional basis, every couple of months, if there's some useful information to share, they've done a new interesting project, things like that. And the last one is lost customers. And the reality is, none of us get all the people we talk to. They don't all say yes. There's going to be a good number that will go and use a competitor. But there's no reason for not keeping in touch with those, because the reality is that the person that has the CCTV cameras installed today, in a year or so may need access control, or they may find that there's a problem with their maintenance company. They may be looking for a new maintenance company, but they'll forget you because they said no to your quote for CCTV because you were too expensive, or they thought someone else could do a better job, or whatever it may be. That could be completely out of your control. And if you never contact them again, that's all gone. But if you contact them, occasionally, then when something happens, they're let down. There's a good chance that they'll get in touch with you, and you'll have another chance to talk to them. Email has a lot of challenges. So this was I think it's from yesterday or the day before. Just a quick one from my junk folder. And one of the biggest challenges with email is actually reaching an inbox, getting it into an inbox. And then once it is in somebody's inbox, getting the message read. And then lastly, getting someone to respond to it. So this was, these 5 here are in, one of my emails, one of my junk folders. And you can see why. So we've got this first one here, proposal, ? I mean, they're offering, we're an SEO company and they're offering us SEO. So they probably don't quite know what we're doing. And there we go. Second one, mortgage at risk. I've no idea who Bell & Company are. This is no idea who this company is here either. Super list, email lists, 100% valid, any country in the world. So here's an interesting one. This company here is selling email lists, and yet they can't get their selling email lists into an inbox. It's ended up in a junk folder. So you think they're probably not going to do very well with everything else if they can't achieve the first step. And then I've got Hi from Jacob, which is an interesting one. I'll show you a bit more detail in a moment. So this was a few from a junk folder. So the first challenge always is getting into somebody's inbox. And then once you've reached somebody's inbox, you've then got to get the message read and some form of response to it. This last one here, this one, I looked in a bit more detail at it. He was trying to sell me an email service, so to persuade me that his company could do email for our clients. And yet his email to me couldn't get into my inbox. So, you're probably not going to get very far with that. And let me just sort of show you why. So this is his email. So, I mean, there's lots of problems here. So if we look at this here, this has been sent with like an email service. Like I'm not sure which one it is, but there's things like MailChimp and there's Campaign Monitor and all these different ones. And when you use them to send emails, rather than using, I'm assuming his email address is me@jacobchewiner.net. Rather than sending it from that email address, it's actually sending it from this address here, me=jacobchewiner.net@mlsend.com. Outlook and most other email software straight away look at that and say it's spam. So this message was marked as spam using a junk filter other than Outlook junk email filter. So something's picked it up as spam. And then down here, the actual sender of this message is different than the normal sender. So it's looked and it said, well, this is obviously dodgy because it's come from this person in theory, but it's been sent by a different one. So so the first problem is it's all a bit dodgy. And then you look at all these links here, and this long, and forgive me for telling you things you already know, but this long list of characters and letters here means that the message is being tracked. So if I were to click on any of these, this person, Jacob Chewiner, would know that I've clicked on it, would know, what I've done, what I've been looking at. And every single person that gets an email from him will get a different set of characters, so we can know exactly which person clicked on it, what time they clicked on it, where in the world they were, probably what they were using, i.e. whether they're using a phone, whether they're using a PC, all that kind of information. The moment you click on one of these track links, and then they know all about what you're doing. Aside from the actual getting into an inbox, I mentioned getting an email read. And this one, I mean, the subject line is Hi from Jacob. If I knew someone called Jacob, possibly I'd open it because I think it was from a friend. But otherwise, I mean, Hi from Jacob is a terrible thing if I don't know a Jacob. It's a completely useless subject line to use. So there we go. So let me just come on from that to making emails successful. First up, send properly. So send it from Outlook if you're using Outlook, or from Gmail, or from Apple Mail, or whatever form you're using. You can send it like that. You can send individual emails like that. if you're going to send multiple emails, use a proper email sending tool. There's a number out there, and by all means contact me, and I'll give you some examples of which ones work well. But avoid the likes of the MailChimps and so on, because in my experience, they just don't work. You're just not getting an email through with those, because they're known to be used by people sending out spam, and therefore most spam filters are going to block them straight away. Second up, a good subject line. And all of us, we open our emails because the subject line, if it makes sense to us, we'll look at it. If it doesn't make sense, we're not going to bother. So a good subject line is very important. Also, personalization. So, dear Fred, this is my company. I was wondering if ABC Limited, your company, would be interested in having a chat about what we could do with your CCTV, something like that. Location, let's say it's a company based in Manchester, talking about how we work with companies in Manchester to do ... Just personalizing it rather than it being a very general email that's sent out to everybody. Short and to the point. Too many emails that certainly that I get, and I do try and keep a stock of the bad ones that come in, just to sort of remind myself as to what doesn't work, are great big long emails. And the reality is, we're going to read an email on the phone, on a mobile, a lot of the time, so it's got to be short and to the point. And the junk ones, because you instantly look at them and you can see the spammy words, the words in capitals, the exclamation marks, the emojis and all that kind of stuff. If I were to send a business email to somebody, it's going to be written properly with real words, and there's going to be no emojis and so on in there. It'd just be a proper written email, and that's what you need to use. You need to use an email that looks like a proper email that you would send to a friend or a work colleague, another company, etc. Images are very tricky. We use images sometimes in emails we send, but you have to use them very carefully. And I wouldn't use more than one image in an email, partly because with something like Outlook, images won't be displayed by default. So you'll end up with a box which will say, and a message at the top saying something like, Outlook hasn't downloaded these images, but click here to download them. On a phone, the images will show up, but not on certainly on Outlook. There's also the danger that a lot of spam emails have lots of images in there. So the moment there are lots of images, the email junk filters know that it's probably spam. So, if you're going to use an email, use it very carefully. And personally, I would want to have text first and then the email below. So let's say I'm trying to contact someone and show them an example of some work we've done. I'd have some text about it first, and then something saying, if you'd like to see an example, there's a photo below it, and do it like that. And even if you're sending an email to lots of people, it needs to look as though it was written to one person. So it needs to be worded carefully as though it's written from me to you rather than from me to all these different people, with just one thing changed on each one, or worst of all, hi, comma, and then the message. When it's if I was to write an email to Fred, I'd say hi Fred. I wouldn't just say hi, comma. You need that sort of personalization. You need to look as though you're writing to one person. Lastly, you need some kind of a call to action. So for email to work, yes, you've got to get into a mailbox. Yes, you've got to be read. But if nothing is ever done with it, then it's not really achieved the objective. You want someone to, in some way, respond, either to email back, either to phone you, or just to remember you. And then 6 months down the line, maybe they've received another email, then to get in touch with you. But you want to be sort of having some kind of a call to action, some sort of way of saying, look, if you'd like to hear more, then please get in touch with me. Okay, so I've covered quite a lot of stuff here, and possibly it's taken a little bit longer than I sort of suggested it would at the beginning, but just trying to sum up the key things then. We've covered website conversion, which is key. There's no point having a good website if no one contacts you from it. Search ranking, and I'm trying to give you very much a high level as to what it takes to rank well in search engine. I will do another webinar later in this year about the more detail on search ranking, to show exactly what you need to do, but hopefully that's given you a few ideas. Google Maps, key for local business. Online advertising, what we think is most effective with online advertising, which is Google at the moment. Social media, quick overview of that. And lastly, email. If you have any questions, by all means, send me an email, chris@electricalmarketers.co.uk. Welcome to give us a call. Have a look at the website. There's I think, quite a lot of useful information on there. We also have a little checklist we produced. It says electrical and security. It is relevant to fire as well, which really is here are the things if you want your website to be sort of optimized for conversion. Here's the things you need to be doing for search ranking and so on. And it's a checklist you can print out, tick off, the things to make sure they're all done. If you want that, pop an email back to me, or it's on the website, electricalmarketers.co.uk/checklist. Lastly, if you'd like a free review of your online marketing, more than happy to do that for you. And by that, I mean, we're happy to have a look at your online visibility, your search ranking for the key search terms for your business, your directory listing. So what directories are you appearing and are they set up correctly? Reviews, reputation. So, do you have enough reviews? Is your online reputation good enough? Social media, how you're using it, if it's working, giving a good presence currently. And also your website conversion and effectiveness. And if you'd like a free review of your online marketing, again, send me an email or electricalmarketers.co.uk/review, and you can just fill in some details there, and we'll have a look at that for you. Hopefully, that's all been useful, and hopefully, it's given you an overview of what you can and maybe should be doing with online marketing. And really, as I said at the beginning, the goal here has been to try and, I suppose, educate people in terms of what they should be doing. So they're using an SEO company currently, fantastic. We're not trying to get everybody to come and use us and saying we're better than anybody else, but it's good to know what they should be doing so that then you can go and have a look at your website and check that they've done all those SEO things, that they have done the title and the H1 tag and the URLs correct and everything else, and know it's being done correctly. Likewise, advertising. Advertising is a fantastic way of growing your business quickly if it's done correctly. If it's done wrongly, if done poorly rather, you'll waste a lot of money. But done well, you can cheaply generate a lot of inquiries. But again, there's a few things you need to do, and if you're using someone to do that for you, and frankly, Google advertising is complicated and it is tricky, and it does take, there is quite a steep learning curve. So it is probably one thing that is worth using someone else for. However, I do believe it's important to understand how it works so that you can then do the due diligence, be sure that they're doing a good job, and know how to measure the results to make certain that they are, achieving what they should be. So hopefully that's given you a quick overview. Any questions, by all means, email me, call me, or go to our website, and hopefully you'll get the answers to what you need on there. Thank you very much.